Nike is forecasting a steeper drop in its revenue for the current quarter than analysts expected, leading shares to drop 5% in after-hours trade on Thursday.
How in the world is Nike not going full on Caitlin Clark phenomenon? You've got the most popular women's athlete in the world. Do they still not have a Caitlin Clark shoe out? My mind is blown by this.
Nike just announced an earnings drop, and it wasn't pretty. Revenue was down 9% last quarter, and then their stock plummeted once execs warned of an even bleaker sales outlook next quarter. Among the first to chime in with, "I told you so," Caitlin Clark's fans, of course. They flooded social media to lower the boom. If only Nike had signed a generational talent selling out 20,000-seat arenas in minutes. Yeah, it's what we're all thinking. Nike has one of the most marketable stars on the planet under an 8-year contract, so fans are dumbfounded. Where is Caitlin's signature shoe? Yes, Nike put Caitlin Clark on billboards and even in a Super Bowl commercial. But when it comes to giving her her own sneaker, crickets.
Meanwhile,
Nike is busy rolling out other athletes' shoes. A'ja Wilson's A1 line before Caitlin's, and even a special edition for college star Paige Bueckers, leaving Clark's supporters scratching their heads.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, you just know that the shoe is going to sell out, and you're scared that Nike are really just going to fumble the bag.
This seems like the obvious answer to Nike's sales woes staring them in the face. So what is going on? Is Nike really that oblivious, or is there something deeper at play? With some of the smartest marketing minds at one of the world's biggest brands, there's got to be more to the story. Let's dig in. But first, smash the like button if you think a Caitlin Clark signature sneaker would be their #1 seller. Okay, so Nike, the iconic shoe giant, has seen its sales growth sputter over the past year. In its most recent fiscal period, Nike's revenue fell about 9% year over year to $11.27 billion, its steepest decline in 5 years. Profits plunged even harder, with earnings per share down 30%. The drop wasn't a one-off fluke. Nike warned that next quarter could be even worse, potentially a mid-teens percentage revenue decline. So what's behind Nike's slump? The company itself admitted to some strategic missteps, too much focus on trendy lifestyle kicks and not enough fresh innovation in performance sneakers. Their once revolutionary Air Jordan, Air Force One, and Dunk lines have gone a bit stale after carrying the brand for so long. New product development slowed, old inventory piled up, and Nike lost its obsessive focus on sport that built its empire. In short, the swoosh needs something fresh and new to capture consumers' attention again. It's almost as if Nike is begging for a spark, a hot new product tied to a superstar athlete to inject life into the brand.
So let's talk about Caitlin Clark and Nike, and I got to tell you, now fans are starting to wonder, is Nike just doing this on purpose?
And that's why Caitlin Clark's fans are giving it to Nike right now. They see exactly that opportunity and are irate that Nike hasn't grabbed it. The moment Nike's weak earnings hit news feeds, Clark fans pounced on social media with posts like, "Nike has the most marketable sports star in Caitlin Clark," and posts this, "They are run by idiots." Ouch. The message was loud and clear. You're sitting on a golden goose, Nike. Do something with her. So why are fans, and some investors, so convinced Caitlin Clark could be Nike's savior? Because every shred of evidence says this 23-year-old phenom is a marketing juggernaut. Let's start with her deal itself. In April 2024, Caitlin signed an unprecedented 8-year, $28 million contract with Nike, the richest shoe deal in women's basketball history. Notably, that contract includes a signature shoe line for her. Nike clearly knew she was special, locking her in even after a bidding war where Under Armour and Adidas were vying for her endorsement.
She signed an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal with Nike in April of last year, making it the largest sponsorship contract for a women's basketball player.
In choosing Nike, Caitlin stuck with the iconic brand she'd been with since 2022. But fans naturally assumed, with that kind of investment, Nike would make her shoe an immediate top priority.
Winding down. Are they going to get the ball up in time? Clark for the win! She does it time and time again!
After all, Caitlin Clark was coming off legendary hype from college. She wasn't just a good NCAA player, she was a cultural phenomenon. Her 2024 national championship appearance against South Carolina drew 18.9 million viewers. By the time she left Iowa, she had become the all-time leading scorer in D1 history, men's or women's, and had a national profile on par with top male athletes. So the day she turned pro as the WNBA's #1 draft pick, Caitlin already had a massive built-in fan base ready to open their wallets. And open them they did. In her 2024 WNBA rookie season, Caitlin absolutely crushed attendance and viewership records. The Caitlin Clark effect transformed the Indiana Fever, a team that had been a league cellar dweller, into the hottest show in basketball. The Fever averaged over 17,000 fans at home games in 2024, the highest average attendance in WNBA history. To put that in perspective, more people showed up for Caitlin's games in Indiana than the NBA's Pacers drew on average. Yes, the Fever outdrew their NBA counterpart in the same city. She personally attracted over 500,000 fans between home and away games, an unheard of figure. On TV, she was pure ratings gold. The WNBA's 2024 season was the most watched in over 2 decades, drawing more than 54 million total viewers across networks. Caitlin was front and center in many of the highest-rated broadcasts. In fact, the 2 most watched WNBA games ever on ABC happened in 2024. One drew 2.23 million viewers and another 1.71 million. And both featured Caitlin's Fever. CBS's most watched game of the regular season hit 2.25 million viewers. Basically, whenever Clark played, TV networks saw NBA-level numbers tuning in. It's no wonder the WNBA and its TV partners quickly adjusted their strategy for 2025. They loaded the national schedule with as many Caitlin games as humanly possible.
Such star power on those teams, it's really no surprise they're atop the list for the most games available for you to check out on a national scale. The Fever, they lead the league with 41 games here, followed by the Aces 33, the champion Liberty at 32.
The Fever will have 41 of their 44 games nationally televised or streamed in 2025, 93% of their schedule, by far the most of any team ever. For comparison, the next highest is Asia Wilson's Las Vegas Aces at 33 national games, and the defending champion New York Liberty, Breanna Stewart's team, at 32. If that's not enough, look at merchandise. Fan interest translated directly into record sales of WNBA gear, up 601% online from the year prior. And guess whose jersey led the pack? Caitlin Clark had the #1 top-selling jersey in 2024. In fact, rookies ruled the merch charts. Angel Reese, another 2024 rookie, was #2. And unbelievably, Caitlin's college teammate Kate Martin, a role-player rookie, was #4, even above established superstar Asia Wilson at #5. Think about that. A 3-time WNBA MVP, Wilson was trailing a rookie who averaged 3 points a game, Martin, in jersey sales, largely because Martin played with Caitlin in college and Iowa fans snapped up her gear. The Caitlin Clark effect is so strong that anyone in her orbit, even a rookie on another team, got a sales bump. And of course, Clark's own Fever gear was flying off shelves nationwide.
It's definitely an industry now. Like we're actually watching this thing grow on the daily.
She also sparked a huge trading card craze. Her autographed rookie card sold for a record price for any WNBA card. And her Iowa college jersey even became a hot item after she'd graduated. This young woman has a fan following that buys everything associated with her. Then there are endorsements and cultural impact. By the end of 2024, Caitlin had inked deals with Nike, State Farm, Bose, Buick, Gatorade, and more. Sports Business Journal named her the best sports business athlete of 2024, essentially the most marketable and impactful athlete in sports that year. SBJ even reported that NBA executives in Indiana admitted the Fever, thanks to Clark, had become a global brand they hope to someday replicate, and compared Caitlin's following to Michael Jordan's during his Bulls heyday. Internationally, she's turning heads too. An international sports media ranking, Sports Pro's 50 most marketable athletes, placed Caitlin Clark as the 4th most marketable athlete in the world in 2024. She was ranked above global icons like Messi, Mbappe, and Ronaldo. For a WNBA rookie on a $75,000 base salary to outrank soccer's GOATs in marketability is almost absurd, and it underscores just how explosive her popularity is right now.
First in the league in fast break points.
Clark connects on a deep 3.
In short, Caitlin Clark is a walking goldmine. Ticket sales, TV ratings, merchandise, sponsorships, she's boosting them all to record levels. She has captured casual sports fans' attention like no female hooper before her, and she's drawing comparisons to the biggest names in sports. If you're Nike, this is exactly the kind of athlete who gets a signature shoe immediately, right?
LeBron had a shoe going into his first season. They didn't skip a beat. So why in the world are they being so quiet about Caitlyn?
Michael Jordan got his Air Jordans in his rookie year in 1985 and created a billion-dollar sneaker line. LeBron James had the Nike Air Zoom generation in his very first NBA season in 2003. Those guys were pegged as once-in-a-generation talents, and Nike wasted no time in turning them into shoe-selling superstars. By every measure, Caitlyn is on that trajectory. She dominated her rookie year, near unanimous Rookie of the Year, all WNBA first team, and even finished fourth in MVP voting, virtually unheard of for a first-year player. She led the league in assists and set the single-season assists record while averaging 19.2 points. Perhaps most impressively, she instantly lifted a Fever team that had been 5-31 2 years prior into a playoff team in 2024. If ever there were a player to fast-track with a shoe deal a la LeBron or MJ, it's Caitlyn freaking Clark. So naturally, fans expected Nike to capitalize immediately. The moment her Nike deal was announced, people assumed a Caitlyn Clark signature shoe would drop as soon as possible, certainly in her rookie season, if not day one. How could it not be? You've got arguably the hottest athlete in America, with millions of young fans ready to buy whatever she's wearing. Nike itself acknowledged her shoe line was part of the deal. Why on earth would you wait?
It's going to inspire girls. Women are going to buy them. Little girls are going to buy them. So are dudes. A lot of dudes are going to buy Caitlyn Clark kicks. And I think that continues to get missed in the discussion is how many men Caitlyn Clark brought over to the WNBA and women's basketball.
Yet here we are in 2025, and Caitlyn's signature sneaker still hasn't hit the market. Instead, Nike has made some questionable moves that have Clark fans fuming. For one, they rolled out Paige Bueckers' shoe first, and Paige is still in college. In December 2024, Nike released the GT Hustle 3 Paige Bueckers edition, making Paige the first college NIL athlete with her own Nike Player Edition sneaker. To be clear, that was a special colorway of an existing model, not an entirely new signature line, but it was heavily promoted and sold out to hypebeast level demand. Fans couldn't help but ask, really, Nike? You're giving Paige a shoe before Caitlyn, who just had the most historic rookie year ever? Then there's A'ja Wilson, the WNBA's reigning MVP and a Nike athlete since 2018. Nike has been working on Wilson's first signature shoe, dubbed the A1, and decided to debut it before Clark's as well. In fact, the A'ja Wilson A1s are scheduled to hit stores in May 2025. So by this summer, A'ja will join Sabrina Ionescu as one of the only WNBA players with an active signature shoe line. Still no Caitlyn shoe in sight. Nike's CEO, Elliot Hill, gave a brief update back in January saying Caitlyn was at Nike HQ working on her logo and shoe design. But notably, he did not give any release date or timeline. All signs and rumors suggest we might be waiting until 2026.
That's pretty much it. Like, I'll stand by this. If she was with any other brand, she would already have had a signature shoe. And it does take 2 years to bring up a shoe from scratch. I'll admit that. But like, they could have done what Kawhi did with New Balance.
From a business perspective, this delay feels insane, like leaving free money on the table. Nike's sales are literally declining right now, and here they have a product guaranteed to be a bestseller whenever it appears. A Caitlyn Clark sneaker and apparel line would crush it in today's market. Fans are practically begging to throw their money at Nike for Caitlyn gear. That's why the frustration boiled over when Nike's weak earnings came out. So what gives? Why would Nike seemingly slow play Caitlyn's shoe? It's easy to call them idiots. Many fans did. But Nike is usually pretty shrewd. There has to be a calculated reason for this, even if we might disagree with it. Let's explore a few possibilities.
It seems to me that it is more on the political side as to why Caitlyn Clark is not getting the praise, the commercials, the ads, the merch, like all of the things that she should have gotten during this rookie season.
One factor could be Nike's existing roster of women's basketball stars and the optics of the situation. Consider A'ja Wilson's position. She's a 3-time WNBA MVP and 2-time champion. She's been a Nike athlete for years, waiting patiently for her turn at a signature shoe. Sabrina Ionescu got hers first. The Nike Sabrina one came out in mid-2023, and A'ja was next in line. If Nike had skipped over A'ja and fast-tracked Caitlyn's shoe ahead of hers, it could have caused a major rift. Internally, Nike prides itself on supporting all its athletes. Snubbing a decorated veteran like Wilson for the new kid could hurt morale and trust with other clients.
Seriously, what happened to this company? Y'all used to be about making money. Now all you care about is not hurting feelings.
It might be the right financial move, but externally, it would look disrespectful. I don't need to go into the narrative about the reason why Caitlyn's getting attention at the expense of other players. Just know that, based on this, the PR optics would have been brutal. By letting Asia go first, Nike shows deference to her accomplishments. Even if Caitlyn's shoe might outsell Asia's by a mile, they won't undermine their 3-time MVP. The situation also mirrors a broader challenge in the WNBA ecosystem, acknowledging Caitlyn's dominance without diminishing others.
And I think that the backlash that has come from the Nike deal, if you will, has been fans of Clark wondering, like, why aren't you like celebrating the fact that you have Caitlin Clark, Nike? You know, you have maybe the most popular basketball player in the world, period.
The league knows she's the main attraction now. Just follow the money and scheduling. Yet you'll rarely hear WNBA officials outright say, Caitlin Clark is driving this surge. They carefully promote everyone, even when their actions, like that loaded TV schedule, scream Caitlin's name. There's a sense that openly crowning her could breed resentment among other players who've been stars in their own right. We've already seen a bit of this tension. Some established players and their fan bases bristled at the idea that a rookie got all this attention. Remember when Angel Reese quipped last year, "They're here to watch me too"? That kind of pride is at play around the league. The WNBA and its teams have to keep all their athletes feeling valued, even as one rookie steals the spotlight.
Speaking of United Center, it'll also play host to a pair of WNBA games for the first time this season. The Sky announcing their matchups, hosting the Indiana Fever.
Here's a hilarious example. Several teams with upcoming Fever games quietly moved those games to larger arenas to accommodate the Caitlin crowd. The Atlanta Dream, for instance, shifted their 2025 home opener against Indiana from a 3,500-seat venue to the nearly 17,000-seat State Farm Arena. Instead of saying, "We know Caitlin will draw a massive crowd," the Dream's owner gave an excuse about a scheduling conflict at the smaller arena. Fans roasted the team online, joking that scheduling conflict must be Caitlin Clark's new nickname. One fan even pulled up the arena's calendar to prove nothing else was booked that night, calling it Clark derangement syndrome among WNBA owners. The point is, the league and teams often bend over backwards not to explicitly put one player on a pedestal, even when she's the obvious driving force. It's a delicate balancing act of egos and optics. Celebrate Caitlin's impact, but keep the narrative it's about more than just one player. Nike might be playing a similar long game. They too have a portfolio of athletes and a brand image to manage. While it's tempting to go all in on Caitlin now, they also have to maintain relationships and narratives for others.
He reports Nike wants to prioritize A'ja Wilson, and it fears the optics of giving a rookie a signature shoe before an already established star who just won league MVP for the 3rd time.
Nike likely wanted to avoid any perception of showcasing their shiny new star at the expense of its champions who've been grinding for years. By sequencing things, first Sabrina, now A'ja, then Caitlin, they may be prioritizing a progression that seems fair and inclusive. It's a compromise between short-term profit and long-term athlete management. They must feel they can afford to be patient to get the optics right. It's worth noting, Caitlin herself chose to sign with Nike, knowing their bench of stars is deep. Had she gone with a smaller brand like Adidas or Under Armour, she probably would have a signature shoe in hand already. Steph Curry personally courted her for UA. Adidas dangled a shoe immediately. A less crowded roster might have put her front and center from day one, but Caitlin went for the long-term prestige play. Nike is Nike, the top of the mountain. And while that comes with some internal competition, it also means when her turn comes, the platform and reach will be massive. Privately, she might feel a twinge of impatience. Who wouldn't want their own kicks right away? But she also seems savvy. She said all the right things publicly and hasn't shown any frustration. In the end, she knows being with Nike aligns her with the greatest of all time.
Before the Liberty fell to the Aces in 4 games, Clark connects on a 3.
Now, regardless of the politics, if you're a Caitlin fan, and potentially for Nike, there's a silver lining with waiting until 2026. Caitlin will probably be an even bigger star by then. As insane as her rise has been, she's really only 1 year into her pro career. What if by 2026, she has a WNBA MVP award? What if she leads the Fever to a championship by then? Those are very real possibilities given her trajectory and her team's upgrades. Indiana had a strong finish in 2024, and over this offseason, they went all in to build a contender around Clark. The Fever added veteran all-stars DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard, both WNBA champions and two-way forces, in free agency. They traded for sharpshooting guard Sophie Cunningham and retained their own star guard Kelsey Mitchell. Plus, Caitlin's co-star, former #1 pick Aaliyah Boston, will only get better in her 3rd year. This team suddenly has size, defense, experience, depth, things the Fever lacked before. ESPN's offseason report card gave Indiana an A and explicitly said these moves could make Caitlin Clark's Fever a championship contender in 2025. Imagine the narrative if Caitlin wins MVP or brings a title to Indiana this season. The hype for her brand would explode even beyond its current level. There would be a collective "I told you so" from Caitlyn fans worldwide. And while their stock might be slumping now, Nike seems willing to put others first and hope Caitlyn's star continues to rise. The reality is that Nike, the company, isn't going anywhere. They have decades of brand dominance banked, and they can afford a slow year or two as they reset their strategy.
Mannequin, an early 9-point lead. Clark a three. It is good.
They probably know what we all know. Caitlyn Clark isn't going anywhere. When she finally gets that signature sneaker, it's going to be epic. Nike will, if they're smart, put all their muscle behind it. Design, marketing, global distribution, and it very likely will shatter sales records. Yes, right now the WNBA and Nike brass might try to create the optics of balanced popularity and that it's more than just Caitlyn Clark. And it will be, someday. But at this moment, she is the engine driving unprecedented interest. They know it, and everyone knows it. Nike holding back her shoe is a gamble that might be keeping the ecosystem happy now. Hopefully, even if it seems counterintuitive, it leads to even bigger rewards for Caitlyn, who has been waiting patiently. When the Caitlyn Clarks finally drop, it's going to be mayhem. Let us know in the comments if you think Nike should have pushed out Caitlyn's shoe already, or if you think they had no choice but to bend to the pressure of optics. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.